The Hamilton-Burr Duel, a research presentation by Michaela Horn. Who were they? Alexander Hamilton began with a rough childhood with an adulterous mother and a father that abandoned them. Hamilton worked as a clerk for Nicholas Kruger, and upon learning of Alexander's intelligence, Kruger and a Reverend Hugh Knox sent him to study in America. In 1774, as the colonies swept toward revolution, he left school to begin a career in politics. That year he wrote a full vindication of the measures of Congress, which defended the First Continental Congress's proposal to embargo trade with Great Britain. Hamilton, along with John Jay and James Madison, wrote the Federalist Papers. After Washington's election in 1789, he chose Hamilton as the nation's first Secretary of Treasury. Aaron Burr, most famously or infamously known as the man that shot Alexander Hamilton. In 1783, he was elected to the New York Assembly. In 1789, he was appointed the state's Attorney General. 2 years later, Burr made the jump to national politics, taking a United States Senate seat from Philip Schuyler, a powerful New York landowner and Alexander Hamilton's father-in-law. In 1800, Thomas Jefferson chose Burr as his running mate for the election. Why exactly were they dueling? Simply put, Hamilton was a Federalist and Burr was a Republican. In 1800, Burr published The Public Conduct and Character of John Adams, Esquire, President of the United States, a critical analysis of Adams written by a fellow Federalist, none other than Alexander Hamilton. It was intended for private use, and its publication embarrassed and helped widen the gaps in the Federalist Party. In turn, this was the push that helped Jefferson and Burr win the election. More so, the New York governor's race of 1804 is what truly pushed the two men to violence. Burr had turned his back on the Republicans and ran as an independent. The thought of Burr leading New York horrified Hamilton, so he tried to convince New York Federalists not to support Burr, and it ultimately worked, resulting in the failure of Burr's campaign. In February of 1804, Dr. Charles D. Cooper, a New York Republican, attended a dinner party where Hamilton spoke strongly about his despicable opinion of Burr. The letter that Cooper wrote to Hamilton's father-in-law, Philip Schuyler, was later published in the Albany Register. In hopes that a victory would revive his dying political career, Burr challenged Hamilton to a duel. Hamilton was not fond of the duel. However, if he did not duel Aaron Burr, his political career would also be over. And on the morning of June 11, 1804, Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr met for the duel. Accompanying Hamilton was his second, Nathaniel Pendleton, and Dr. David Hossick, a physician. Accompanying Aaron Burr was his second, W.P. Van Ness, awaiting Hamilton and his men. At the duel, both men fired their dueling pistols, and only Hamilton was hit. After the duel, the 2 seconds accompanying the men wrote a description of the duel as follows. Colonel Burr arrived first on the ground as had been previously agreed. When General Hamilton arrived, the parties exchanged salutations, and the seconds proceeded to make their arrangements. They measured the distance, 10 full paces, and cast lots for the choice of position, as also to determine by whom the word should be given, both of which fell to the second of General Hamilton. They then proceeded to load the pistols in each other's presence, after which the parties took their stations. The gentleman who was to give the word then explained to the parties the rules which were to govern them in firing, which were as follows. The parties being placed at their stations, the second who gives the word shall ask them whether they are ready. Being answered in the affirmative, he shall say present. After this, the parties shall present and fire when they please. If one fires before the other, the opposite second shall say 1, 2, 3, fire, and he shall then fire or lose his fire. He then asked if they were prepared. Being answered in the affirmative, he gave the word present, as had been agreed on, and both parties presented and fired in succession. The intervening time is not expressed, as the seconds do not precisely agree on that point. The fire of Colonel Burr took effect, and General Hamilton almost instantly fell. Colonel Burr advanced towards General Hamilton with a manner and gesture that appeared to General Hamilton's friend to be expressive of regret, but, without speaking, turned about and withdrew, being urged from the field by his friend, as had been subsequently stated, with a view to prevent his being recognized by the surgeon and the bargemen of who were then approaching. No further communication took place between the principals, and the barge that carried Colonel Burr immediately returned to the city. We conceive it proper to add that the conduct of the parties in this interview was perfectly proper, as suited the occasion. Upon Dr. Hossick approaching Hamilton after the duel, Hamilton said, "This is a mortal wound, doctor." Hamilton, having briefly recovered his sight, then said, "Take care of that pistol. It is undischarged and still cocked. It may go off and do harm. Pendleton knows that I did not intend to fire at him." It was later discovered that the pistol's ball had lodged itself near Hamilton's spine, and he died the next day. And instead of refreshing Aaron Burr's political career, the duel ended it, considering that he was charged with 2 counts of murder, and after his term as vice president ended, he never held another political office. However, his next attempt at power ended in charges of treason. Thank you.